for my crisis management, I did the Josh Brown crisis. And a little bit of introduction. So the NFL has had numerous domestic violence related incidents over the last few years that have tarnished the image of the league and hurt its credibility. The most recent one was the Josh Brown incident involving the kicker for the New York Giants. This incident was not an isolated incident like the Super Bowl blackout. It was a multitude of things that led to this becoming a crisis. And the initial incident started in 2015 when Josh Brown was arrested for suspicion of fourth-degree assault on his wife. And it culminated with his release from the Giants on October 25th of 2016. So the timeline, a little bit about it. It started when he was arrested for domestic violence in May of 2015. And then on April, so Brown, right, he was arrested. There was no charges filed, so the team allowed him to play because his wife wouldn't press charges against him, or his ex-wife now. And so he ended up having a Pro Bowl season, and the Giants rewarded him by giving him a 2-year, $4 million contract extension, which was very rare for a kicker to get paid that kind of money. And the team president at the time said he was aware of the assault allegations, but still felt that the guy's character was good enough to give him the extension, which is one of the signals that would lead to this ultimately becoming a crisis. And then timeline continued. Okay, so in Mitch lost 5 stages. The first was the signal detection, and here's what happened. So the player was arrested for domestic violence related incidents. Domestic violence has been a big issue with the NFL and with its players over the last few years. And so it was a mistake by the organization not to realize that was a signal that if it's a domestic violence related incident, we need to do more background checking to figure out what exactly happened, how exactly we should go about it. They didn't do any of it because she refused to press charges, so they allowed him to play, and then they gave him a contract extension, which then started up all this other issues where people from rights groups and the fans, they started, and the media started to get involved, saying, okay, we need to look into this guy and see what actually happened. And then the Giants, they said they were aware of the situation, but that is being handled in the court of law, which was fine, except this was more of a media issue than an actual legal issue at this point. Okay, so then probing and prevention, the risk factors, right? They didn't account for the negative impact that having a player like this would have on the team. Because it was a kicker, I believe they assumed, and it looks like the team just assumed that people wouldn't care because it's not a high-profile position. That turned out not to be the case. They didn't think of the distraction the player could be inside the locker room and how it affected team performance. We don't have much information about that, obviously, because it's behind the scenes. What we do know is that while Brown was on the team went 3-3. When they released him after week 8, the team went 7-2. So maybe he had something to do with the fact that they underperformed earlier in the season, maybe not, but it could have affected team performance. And then there was just a massive, intense media scrutiny on the owner, John Mara of the Giants, on the team itself, and and then created the crisis that occurred because they didn't show any situational awareness to help this player, right, and to help the team. And they also defended him over and over again, saying he's a good person, saying these are isolated incidences, saying it was one mistake, right? And then the damage containment, after 8 weeks, the team released Josh Brown because, as many people speculate, that the Giants were coming to play in London. It's a big deal, the London game. And they were going to the NFL did not want his and the media scrutiny that was happening to him in the States to affect the image that the league's trying to present overseas. So it is assumed that the league strong-armed the Giants into releasing the player, because it was also later revealed that this was not an isolated incident. He had been abusing his wife for years, and that report came out about a couple days before they were set to take the plane to go to England. And so all that intensity and scrutiny built up, that was what created this crisis here. Okay, and so, for the damage containment, right, they released him, and that's what the Giants started done. So recovery, right, the image restoration strategies that were used by the team. So they used diffusability and mortification, where the owner apologized, but in his apology he claimed he was not aware of the extent of the abuse, which shows diffusability and mortification, until he got the report that happened on October 19th. And on October 27th he admitted in an interview that Brown had admitted to abusing his wife in the past before the 2015 incident, but that he was unclear to the extent of that, which doesn't make sense if you're the owner of a multi-billion-dollar organization, you're one of the most well-run organizations before this incident. How do you not know, and you just give the guy an extension of $4 million, how do you not know if this is an isolated incident or not? That was a question that the media still has, and they still haven't really answered the question, the team or the organization. And then learning from this, so the Giants and John Mara, they allowed this incident to become a crisis by not knowing how to deal with the media in regards to it. The team did not avoid speculation, they didn't use appropriate language, and they didn't try to resolve the crisis, and it took way too long for them to admit that they made a mistake in that they didn't fully understand the depth of the incident itself. They didn't understand its history of violence. They didn't do any of this background checking. They didn't read the signals to understand that domestic violence is a very touchy issue right now in the States. And so it finally was them, and all these mistakes that they kept doing piled up and created a crisis for the organization. And then in the future, the team needs to have a better strategy in place moving forward when it comes to signal detection and it comes to responses to those signals. The problem with the Giants is that even though they've given up with apologies, they've never once apologized to his wife for putting this media stress through her. They haven't apologized that she was the victim. They have not they have not shown in any of their apologies that they've learned from their mistakes. They haven't put any new strategies in place to handle these in the future. And they haven't shown that there's any behind the scenes actions that have been put in place, any differences to the PR team, to the media management team, to background information on players in the future. They haven't shown that they are putting any of these implementations in place. And then conclusion, this issue became a crisis due to the response by the Giants and their owner, John Mara. The crisis then has also damaged the image and reputation of the team, who before this were considered to be one of the most well-run organizations in American sports. Now it's a little sketchy behind them. Now they've been able to overcome the crisis by being good on the field, by making the playoffs. So people aren't really as concerned right now. But after the season, and if they struggle in the playoffs, then these issues are going to come up because they have yet to really close the door. They haven't really shown any learning from this and new strategies in place so this kind of issue don't happen in the future. And then that's the references. Done.